I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and I'm packing two of the hottest devices on the market right now. Now, both of these phones have in some way revolutionized the wireless industry as we know it. On one hand, you have the Samsung Galaxy Note. This phone's been out for a couple of weeks, but it's packing a huge 5.3-inch display, and the AT&T version has a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, an 8-megapixel camera, a front-facing camera, Android 2.3, and more. Then you have the iconic Apple iPhone 4S. Typical stuff here, Apple A5 dual-core processor, 8-megapixel camera on the back, and it's got a 3.5-inch Retina display on this sucker. So as you can see, very different designs that are going to appeal to very different people, but it's dogfight time. You know what we do in dogfight land? We take a look at both of these and see which one's the best all-around device. Let's take a look, but first some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with a bunch of phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you're going to walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your contacts, and more. So be it the iPhone 4S or the Samsung Galaxy Note, you're going to walk out that door and be good to go. Let's take a look at this. Which one's the best? Is it Galaxy Note and its big 5.3-inch display, or the iconic Apple iPhone 4S? We're going to find out in the dogfight, which starts right now. Say what you will about the design of these devices, but one thing's for sure, these are both iconic devices that have sold really well. Here's the Samsung Galaxy Note. It's available now on AT&T, and it's available for $299.99 with a 2-year agreement. Now it comes in blue and white as well, so I've got the white model here. Then you have the iconic Apple iPhone 4S. It's available on AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon, and it's available in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte versions in white and in black. They start at $199 for 16, $299 for 32, $399 for 64. So they're both iconic devices. They've sold very well. You know, the Galaxy Note here, just before Mobile World Congress, Samsung came out and said they had announced, or sold rather, 2 million of these devices. And then, of course, the iPhone 4S, millions and millions sold, what, 38 million, if I remember right, in their past quarter. So very impressive numbers on both ends, but they're clearly two very different devices for two very different groups of people. You know, obviously, you know, fanboy wars aside, regardless of whether you like iOS or you like Android, when you look at a device that can actually fit inside the display of another device, that's a pretty substantial difference. So I can tell you right out of the gate, somebody that likes web browsing, somebody that likes doing music stuff, somebody that likes a big display that they can type on and can draw on, the Galaxy Note is going to be the device for them. That said, it's a 5.3-inch Super AMOLED HD display with 1280 by 800 pixels, so it's a big phone. I mean, you look at this, it's hard to hold in the hand, and you can see it's almost eating up kind of the camera lens at the moment. And you can also see when I'm down here at the bottom, I can't reach all the way up to the top. It's not intended for one-handed operation. You know, I find myself walking around the mall with this device, or walking around wherever, in the airport, wherever I'm at, and I'm, you know, when I have something, coffee in one hand or something like that, it's hard to type on, hard to do anything on because of the big display. That said, it's great for browsing, great for media content, and more. Then you have the iPhone 4S with a 3.5-inch display, so it's almost like a switch out here. 3.5-inch Retina display on this bad boy, and it's a very small display. It's very much on the small side. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know, with the iPhone 5 or iPhone 6, whatever it's called, it needs to be upgraded to a bigger display, at least 4 inches. And that's probably true. You know, we're looking at 4, 4.3, 4.5, 4.7, 4.8-inch displays kind of being the norm now. 3.5 is painfully small, particularly when you go from something like this back to the iPhone 4S or something, you know, with a 4.5 or 4.7-inch display. So I can tell you, you know, I went personally from the iPhone 4S, using it for about 2 months, to the Galaxy Note as part of my 30-day challenge, which you can see those videos on PhoneDog and on YouTube. And it was pretty impressive. You know, it took me a while to get used to it. Now, looking at the iPhone 4S, it seems like a really tiny display. So let's run through some of the other specs as well. On the AT&T version, you have a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S3 processor. It's packing AT&T's 4G LTE connectivity. It has a 2,500 milliamp hour battery, an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording, and a front-facing camera as well. It's also packing Android 2.3.6 with Samsung's TouchWiz version 4.0. So pretty zippy. You know, I like TouchWiz version 4.0. It's a huge change from 3.0, and it works much better. It seems to be integrated better with Android, particularly with Gingerbread. And of course, this device is supposed to get ice cream sandwich in the near future. On this side, Apple A5 CPU, dual-core CPU with that, so you can see very fluid, smooth, and easy to operate. It's running Apple's iOS version 5. It has an 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording, a front-facing camera for FaceTime, and then down here, proprietary jack for your charger and for all those peripherals. So, iconic device, and you can see the SIM card slot here with the iPhone 4S. Obviously, this particular version is an AT&T version, but on the Verizon and Sprint versions, which are CDMA devices, they have SIM card slots as well because the 4S is an internationally capable device. Now, up top, you have your 3.5mm headphone jack, your power button, which you probably know all this as long as this device has been out, but volume rocker over here on the side. And I like this. It's a physical toggle. And actually, Cam from today's iPhone pointed this out. It's something that's commonly forgotten about. On the iPhone, on all smartphones, it's commonly forgotten as a great feature. You can easily flip between having your sound on and having your sound off. Then you have the volume rocker over here. It's a very industrial design with metal. If you like metal and you like glass, the design of this is beautiful, and it's very different than the all-plastic look of the Samsung Galaxy Note. So even though this is chrome and it still looks nice, you can tell it's a plasticky device in comparison to the Apple iPhone 4S. Two very different designs. Now, on the opposite side, I dropped this from anywhere more than about 2 or 3 feet. It's most likely going to shatter. At least the front of the back is going to shatter. The back is about $29 to replace. The front, if you don't have Apple Care, it's about $200 to replace, if I remember right, by going into the Apple Store. I actually broke one once, dropped it face down with a case on, still shattered the display. So you take quite a bit of a risk with this device in terms of the design. But enough of that, let's take a look here. 7 home screens on this device, and obviously Android's very different than iOS. And then over here, you have your home screens that expand out, obviously, the more applications you pick up. Now, iOS, no widget capabilities on this device. You do have the notifications bar. Let me pull this down so you can see this and just take a look. And of course, it's offline right now, but you have weather and stock shortcuts, and then your calendar as well. So you have this kind of notification bar, much like Android, which comes down from the top. But then over here, other than that, no widgets outside of the weather and the stocks that you can put on that. No widgets. You've got application shortcuts, and then you've got your search bar by going all the way over, and that's about it. You don't have the ability. So for somebody that likes to customize, somebody that likes widget support like this, where you can get a quick access look at the weather, or come over here and see my Google search bar pretty easily, or come over here and take a look at AT&T's featured apps, whatever, you can't really do it on iOS. There's no option for widgets. So the trade-off there, widgets take quite a bit of battery life, so obviously there's a bigger battery in this device, but it's powered by a gigantic display. So 2,500 milliamp hour batteries, we'll get into that a little bit more in part 2, but even with a 2,500 milliamp hour battery, because of 4G LTE and because of the big display, it's better than most Android devices, but it's still hard to make it through a day with just absolutely full use. And I really put this to the test when I came back from Barcelona and when I traveled over as well, because I don't have access to a charger when I'm in a plane, and so I was trying to rely on this thing for a full day performance, and it didn't make it all the way over. It died in about 12 hours. So better than most Android devices I work with, but still not the best in the world. But 7 home screens, TouchWiz version 4.0, and out of the box, you do get some AT&T applications. Now that said, I've deleted a lot of those AT&T applications because the carrier is pretty good about listening to their consumers. And for example, Code Scanner and Navigator, most of these can be removed. Featured Apps is an AT&T application. We can scroll over here and see Quick Light comes pre-installed. Then you see some Samsung stuff as well, like Social Hub. You see YP Mobile, which is AT&T. So we can go into settings, and we can go into applications, we go to manage applications, and you can also install third-party applications now. That's a big thing for a lot of people that like to root or hack, or install applications from non-Android market sources. So Code Scanner's in here. You can see uninstall. I can easily uninstall it without having to root or do anything different to the software. So that's really nice. You have another carrier like Verizon that doesn't allow you to remove their applications that come pre-installed. So they've really listened to their consumers here. My AT&T can be uninstalled as well. I actually use that one quite a bit, so I didn't uninstall it. But AT&T Navigator, you'll notice, cannot be uninstalled. And then, of course, that featured applications can't be uninstalled as well. But you can see YP Mobile also can, I think you can uninstall YP Mobile. Let's take a look. You can at least uninstall the updates. We'll give it a try here and see if you can uninstall. So actually, you can't uninstall YP Mobile. For whatever reason, it lets you uninstall the updates, which is a little Android kind of goof there. But you do get some AT&T stuff pre-installed, along with the Samsung stuff, like I said, Media Hub, Social Hub, and more. So you do get some stuff out of the box. Not too much, I'd say. And the stuff that's out there, they do allow you to remove, which is pretty nice. You'll notice the network identifier up top, but you got a typical TouchWiz looking banner here on the notification bar. You've got your shortcuts up top for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, airplane mode, and screen resolution. And then over here, you don't have any AT&T applications pre-installed as part of their agreement with Apple. Out of the box, all you get is the typical Apple stuff: music, your iPod functionalities, the App Store, iTunes, weather, some of the stock stuff that comes pre-installed out of the gate, calendar, photos, and more. And then, of course, all these other applications are things that I've installed in my time with the device itself. So Twitter, of course, the applications from the App Store. So a lot of applications available in the App Store on both of these devices, but before we kind of touch base on that, let's go into messaging on both of these devices, because I want to show you how distinctly different it looks with a 5.3-inch display as opposed to a 3.5-inch display. And bear with me here, I've got to go out of these because these are both my personal devices, so there are text messaging threads in there right now. But the thing I want to point out that I prefer, or that I find really beneficial to iOS as opposed to Android, look how fluid the transition effects are here. And granted, you don't have as much running in the background, you don't have true multitasking, you have the ability down here to press and hold and scroll through your open applications and change it that way, but you can't really, from there, do anything else in terms of multitasking. Over here you have widgets running in the background. You can do a lot of different things in the background, but you can see the fluidity here is great. So for a lot of people that are considering Android or iOS, it really boils down to a fluidity versus a functionality argument. Do you want those widgets in the background? Do you want the capability to constantly access that information as easily as possible? Or do you want something that requires a few more clicks in terms of getting into applications, but you get a constant, relatively constant, smooth performance like this? You can see very smooth there, and you get some pretty decent performance over here as well, but you can see it's just not quite as fluid. It's improved over the previous versions of TouchWiz, and there's a nice little transition effect, but you see it a lot on this device with the Snapdragon processor. There's lag and hiccup and kind of stutters from time to time. That's the eternal Android versus iOS battle. It is not as fluid as iOS. I don't know. I hope it will be at some point. It's not right now in its present form. So that's a trade-off. You look at fluidity versus what the device can do in terms of widget support and things like that. But let's take a look here. Out of the box, you get 3 keyboards on the AT&T version. You get the Android keyboard, you get Samsung's keyboard, and you get Swipe. Now, Ice Cream Sandwich is a keyboard I've downloaded from the Android market. You can get that through the Android market. It's available for free, and then there's a donation version, which I use it so much I finally just bought the donation version. But the Android keyboard that comes out of the gate is the gingerbread keyboard. So we'll come in here and say the Quick Brown Fox. Actually, let me switch over to one that actually comes on the device so you can take a look. This is the Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard, in case you were wondering. But the gingerbread keyboard looks kind of funky on this device just because of the large display. So we'll say the Quick Brown Fox is happy to have, let's say happy to have some candy. Quick Brown Fox is happy to have some candy, and you can see it stutters and lags, and I don't have the haptic feedback turned on, which may be part of it as well, but I see that the gingerbread keyboard does this quite a bit, where it doubles up on the letters, like double B there and double C there. And then over here, you got your iOS keyboard. There's no other keyboard that comes pre-installed on this device. It's a stock iOS keyboard. I will say, though, to me, and this is very different depending on which reviewer you listen to or which YouTube video you look into, for me, the 2 best keyboards on the market as far as I'm concerned, Apple's iOS keyboard, in terms of autocorrect and things like that, Apple's iOS keyboard is up there, and then also the Ice Cream Sandwich, the stock Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard that comes in the Galaxy Nexus. A very close second would be the Motorola keyboard, but I think tying for first place, iOS and the Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard. So we can say the Quick Brown Fox is happy that, let's do that, it is Friday. And you can see it's auto-correcting as I type. And even with that 3.5-inch display, you'd think, well, it's a super small display. He's got pretty big thumbs. It's going to be hard to type on. But the autocorrect is very good on this one. And I've said this from the beginning with the iPhone series. I love the fact that when you click on it, it magnifies the letter. And just for whatever reason, that combined with the actual clicking kind of gives you a feel of where you're at with the keyboard. And then, of course, for messaging, you can add a picture pretty easily. It's all about simplicity and ease of use on the iPhone, and you can access that pretty easily over here.